Hi everyone, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Crystal, and in this video I'm gonna be talking all about my field notes journals. So if you're one of those people who hate long intros and just want to get into the meat of the journals themselves, I'll be sure to add chapters just so you can skip to the parts you want. However, just as an overview for this video, I'm going to be talking a little bit of background about how I got into field notes. I'll also be talking about what's in my collection and how is it looking so far. I'll be talking about how I incorporate the field notes in my everyday carry and what the setup looks like. I'll be showing you how I use the field notes as a bullet journal, and I'll be flipping through those that I've already completed. And in addition, I'll be showing you how I customize the field notes for me and how I want it to be, and discuss some of the accessories that I use for it. So jumping right into the background, I actually started with field notes as an impulse buy. So I've always known about field notes before, and I always just thought that they were these classic craft-covered pocket notebooks. But then when I was just browsing through one of my favorite stationery online stores, I came across the National Parks series. So I haven't heard of it before because I wasn't really considering the classic field notes notebooks for myself. And when I saw the whole collection, I was just intrigued, and I just loved the style, the cover style of the art. So I bought two of the sets, namely the Series E and Series F. So as of this recording, there are 6 sets in the National Park series, and what I have are Series E and Series F. So I have both of these. I have a total of 6 notebooks, and since I am currently on my 3rd notebook, I'm pretty sure that I'll be wanting to complete everything. So hopefully I get to purchase the other series when I run out. But for now, I actually started with Series F. So I started with this one, which is the Everglades National Park. Then this one is the second in my Bujo archive. So it's the Hawaii Volcanoes National Park. And the third on the series is actually my current bullet journal. So I'll be showing you that in a bit. But as for the Series E, we have these 3. So Denali,
Cuyahoga,
and the Olympic National Park one. So I just love how the back covers match the color scheme of the entire front cover art. So that's my collection so far, and I'm sure I'll have the impulse to collect everything just so I can lay them out, especially when everything is complete. Next, let's discuss how I use or incorporate the field notes in my everyday carry or EDC. And this right here is how the whole setup looks like. So if you haven't watched my previous videos, and if this is your first time on this channel, I actually use the field notes bullet journal in my traveler's notebook passport. So this is my everyday carry. I always put this in the bag just so it's protected. And this is the traveler's notebook in olive. So it's a TN passport. And what I have here inside is this plastic envelope insert. I also have the craft file folder for anything that I store. I use the monthly passport insert as my content planner. And finally, we have my latest field notes, which serves as my bullet journal. So that's the simple setup, and this Glacier National Park is actually the third in the F series. So I'm currently on this one, and I started this November. So I've completed both of these, and I'm on my third one, which makes me very proud because I just know that I'm making use of it. Also, before I forget, I just wanted to discuss this also because I got some questions on my previous videos about this. So field notes is pocket sized, and it's not the same size as the traveler's notebook passport insert, or it's not passport sized, right? So if you compare them, they are basically the same width, but they differ in length. So the field notes is taller than the passport size, but I still make it work, and I still use it in my traveler's notebook because number one, the overhang doesn't really bother me. I know it bothers a lot of people, but I don't mind it. And I don't use the elastic bands, so I don't insert my notebooks in the elastic bands anyway. So as you can see, the plastic envelope and the craft file folder are inserted in the band, but I don't use that for my inserts, and that's because I frequently take them out. I write on them immediately, and I don't want to write while they are inserted on this, so I just leave them hanging like that, just so when I want to write, I can take them out easily without having to pull them out of the bands. So I just open them, I take them out, and I write, and it's working for me so far. So if that's something that will not bother you, I guess you can also work with the field notes in a traveler's notebook passport cover. This is how it looks like. Now we move on to how I'm using the field notes as my bullet journal. And if you want the long version, I do have a dedicated video explaining why I decided to downsize my bullet journal system this year. But the short version is that I started the year bullet journaling in a standard TN with 2 different inserts, and I just got tired of it, so I decided to downsize in a more straightforward and a compact size. So that's why I am now using the field notes paired with the traveler's notebook passport. So I started downsizing towards the end of August, and I just wanted to just leave the standard or regular sized bullet journal aside and immediately went straight ahead with this one. So the way I use the bullet journal system for myself is I use it as a tool for logging, note-taking, and completing my tasks at any given day. That's why when I flip through this, you'll understand why it looks the way it does. And I started with this one. So let's just flip through everything. But just as a guide to everything that you see, I had to start with a key. And this is how I make it work for myself. So if you're very familiar with the bullet journal method by Ryder Carroll, these aren't the symbols that you'll see from that original method. But I do want a uniform system for myself. That's why I'm using this. So a dot signifies a note or a log. An open circle is a task or a to-do. A filled-in circle is something that I completed. So it's a task, a completed task, or a completed to-do. A partially filled circle just indicates that I haven't finished that task for that day, but I did start on it, or I worked on it somewhere. And a crossed out circle is something that is cancelled. So that's just a guide. And as we flip through this first bullet journal in my archive, I go directly to the dailies. So it's straightforward. I also wanted to dedicate one page per day, just so it's more organized for myself. So even though I have this very wide space remaining here, I chose to start a new day on another page just so I can feel more organized, and every day is separated. Then when September came around, I decided that I wanted to make a whole monthly spread, but I really didn't want to create the calendar or box type format of a monthly. So what I did is just I wrote the month here and I assigned things on this side just so I have more space to write, and I color coded them accordingly. So I separated a section for appointments, for birthdays, and for events. And the color code just signifies which days of the month they have. So for this beige color, which is for appointments, so as you can see, September 2 and September 27 is marked in beige. For the birthdays, it's the same thing. So this is a corally colored Mildliner, and these dates are marked in coral as well. The same goes for the events. And it's very simple. I find that this works for me more than the typical monthly layout, just because I never know which boxes or dates will overflow with information, since you limit yourself when everything is the same sized box. At least this way I can write and I can still refer to the whole month as a calendar. So some days are typically longer than others just because I have a lot of things to do on a day, others not so much. And I finished the second to the last page on September 30. And since I have this single page remaining, I didn't want to start the new month on this very last page. So what I did was just create a wish list of all the things that I wanted to buy for next year. Like all the planner and journal and stationery things that I wanted to buy for next year. Just so I can lay out whether everything is what I really want, or just look at this list later and assess if anything has changed. And then I just put an archive sticker noting that this is the first mini bullet journal archive that I have. So I completed this from August 19 to September 30. And that's the first field notes bullet journal that I have. So completing a notebook is very fulfilling, and I'm just proud that although the field notes was an impulse buy for me, I actually was starting to use it, and completing this first one was very fulfilling. So I was excited to start another one, and I started this on October. So as you can see, the key is really something that I want to put on the very first page. And although, yes, I'm very familiar with my own key, I want to just incorporate this just so that I can overcome the fear of the very first blank page and I don't overthink the remaining. So, as you can see, there's also some kind of following a theme here. So I just, since this one is a bit orangey or beige, I paired it with this memo note. And since this is, the cover for this one is blue and yellow, I chose this memo note for this one. And it's stayed the same. So we have the October monthly here because I was starting this bullet journal for October, and directly to the dailies. You can also see that the bleed through, I use Mildliners for the headlines just so there's a pop of color and also to highlight the actual dates. So the bleed through is bad, but I don't mind that. I know a lot of people do, but I don't. I just accepted that. And this is actually an addition to what I started in this very first bullet journal. So I wanted, aside from the monthly, I also wanted to incorporate a weekly overview just so I can track my meals and my habits. So I dedicated 2 pages at the beginning of each week for the meal tracker and my habit tracker, as well as a sleep tracker. So if you're familiar with the Hobonichi weeks or even the Traveler's Notebook standard, which is the memo, weekly plus memo format, this side, the left side is dedicated for the dates of the week, and then the other side is a blank for memo. And I wanted to mimic that because those systems, the Hobonichi weeks and the TN weekly plus memo, are actually systems that worked for me before. So I just wanted to mimic that and incorporate it here. So these are my meal trackers. These are the habit trackers, and this is the sleep tracker. So if you can see, I actually changed my sleep tracker from this to this. So what happened in this one is I just listed the dates of the week and then the number of hours of sleep that I have. So it started from 3 hours to 13 hours. But on the case for this one is I actually started with the time. So I started it from 10 p.m. until 11 a.m. the next day because I wanted to see like the lines on each one instead of just a pattern like this. And then we go back to the dailies. So some days it's just blank because I failed to take note of anything that day, either because I was too busy or nothing much was going on. So I also started a new month because this ended in October 31 and I still had a few pages left. So I started with another monthly calendar, just the same with the format. And another weekly and habit tracker with some dailies in it. And that's it for this one. I have yet to add another archive sticker for this, but I will. But that is for the second book. For the current field notes bullet journal that I have, this is it. And there's nothing much to flip through just because I started this and there isn't a lot of things inside. So, as usual, we start with a key that is matching the color scheme of the notebook. Then we proceed directly to the monthly calendar. I don't know if it's obvious, but that's a letter Q because I got these letters from the sticker kit of the Traveler's Notebook sticker pack for this year. And I run out of O, so I just placed a Q. This is a blank page dedicated for the week of November 11 to 17 because I haven't done a day-to-day live update of each of those days. I was busy this week, so I just placed a placeholder and note everything that I did for the past week. And then this is the weekly meal tracker, and I'm trying to change a bit of the format. I don't know if this is better, but I don't like the look of it. So I may have to change it again on the next week. But for now, I just cropped the date, like the space for the days, because it used to be 5 spaces in this one. So it used to be 5 spaces. And I cropped it to 3, just so I have more space for the actual meal tracking. So I don't know if I like the look of it, but I just have to deal with that for this week. This is a blank habit tracker. And the day yesterday, so today is still blank. I have yet to put it. But that's it for now. And this may well overflow into December because it's almost the end of the month. So those are my flip through of my completed and current bullet journals so far. Now we move on to something that's really interesting for me, and it's how I customize my field notes. So I don't know if you noticed, but the original field notes are actually stapled together. And when I started using this one, I didn't like it. And the staples were actually rusting for me. So I had to remove everything. I don't know if it's obvious, but I think it's obvious on these ones. So the staples were rusting. You can actually see, I hope that's clear, but the staples were rusting the paper inside, and I did not like that. So what I wanted to do was remove all the staples and sew the notebooks myself. So I just did that, and I used it with this kit. Sorry for the crinkly noise, but I actually love crinkly noise, but apparently not everyone. So I used it with this kit. And this is actually meant for leather customizations, but it also works pretty well for my project of sewing my field notes. So I'm gonna attach a clip because I actually filmed my customization of this, I think. So I'm just gonna attach and insert that clip. But that's my main customization. I just remove the staples and sew my field notes. I also try to match the color of the cover just so it's not very obvious. For this one, I used black thread. And this is my latest customized project. So I'm getting better at it, I think. And I sew them as I use them. So these blank field notes are still like not bound together because I just removed the staples, but I still have to sew them. So for now, they're just like this, free form. So let me show you a clip of how I customize it. And then another thing I do, it's not much of a customization, but it's just something that I do to protect my field notes because I have very sweaty palms, especially when I write, and I don't want to hurt like the cover. I don't want to melt the print or something. And so I just used a plastic cover I created like a plastic cover for the field notes. So it's just literal plastic, and I just heated this up at the bottom. My husband helped me just so I have something to cover my field notes because I've been searching for a clear cover that fits this, but apparently there isn't one. I think at least that's what my search has yielded. 0 results for a clear cover for field notes. So for now, it's just a makeshift plastic cover, and it's helpful. So my only goal is not to hurt the cover, and I can feel confident in touching it even if I have sweaty palms. So that's it for the customizations. Finally, let's talk about all the accessories I use for my field notes. And the very first thing I wanted to share is this. So let's just flip everything first. So these are all the first pages of my used field notes, and it's because of this memo pad. So this is the Dolce Vita memo pad, and it's been very helpful. So if I'll be starting a new key, I'll just get a sheet from this notepad. And it's been really helpful because if you're someone like me who is afraid of ruining a pretty notebook or scared of starting a very cute journal, I find that writing something that can be removed, writing your first entry with something that can be replaced or removed is very helpful in overcoming that like first page anxiety. So when I write here my key and I mess it up, I just know that I can replace it. So that's really been helpful. And when I accomplish the first page, the rest of the pages just become easier. So this is the very first one. And I also just have this. So it's a sticker sheet. It's a pins and clips sticker sheet from a local artist here in the Philippines called Vince Art Studio. And I just use it for sticking the memo notes on the first pages. And then the pens that I use are just regular pens. So I don't use fountain pens. I do have fountain pens in my collection. So this is the LAMY Safari in cream. And this is the Kaweco Sport in Macchiato. But I don't use those for field notes. What I use for my field notes are these regular Uniball P pens. So it's just very helpful. I can just bring one of these with my field notes and I'm good to go. So this Uniball is the one in yogurt, and I think it's 0.5. And these are 0.38. So this is coffee and this is peach milk. So I have a thing for food stuffed colored pens. And then finally, I use Mildliners just to highlight all the stuff that I put in my field notes. And if you've noticed, I do color code everything. So for example, the color, this is the current bullet journal, and the color scheme is blue, a bit of like indigo, and some oranges or sunset. So I used these Mildliners for it. And I did the same thing for the previous ones. The color scheme for this is yellow, blue, and like a dark indigo. So I used the same thing. And I just love matching the color of the covers. So it's still simple, but it has a pop of color. And that's it for all my yapping about my field notes bullet journals. So if you reached this very end of the video, thank you very much. And if you want to let me know that you've watched until the very end, please leave a pen emoji, just so I know that you're one of those who watched until the end. So thank you so much for watching, and I hope you subscribe if you're interested in my videos, just so you're notified when the next one comes along. And I hope to see you on the next one. Bye!